Well, it is about 29 minutes past the hour of 8 a.m. in the morning. My name is Priva Elibaz. A very good morning. Thank you so much for keeping it right here at Sunrise at Sea. You already know the drill. It is time for our views, but a quick reminder, make sure you do connect with us on our social media platforms. That is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at CTV Uganda. Of course, if you ever miss out on an episode, we do upload this daily on our YouTube channel. That is at CTV Uganda. So head over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and you will be getting the timely notifications. Well, like I already mentioned, it is time for our views, and today the ladies and I will be deliberating on juvenile delinquency. What exactly is wrong with, the numbers that are happening in Uganda with so many children being in conflict with the law? Have we failed as a society? Have we failed as parents? What exactly is going on? Actually, a report from 2019-2020 indicates that police handled about 2,000 juveniles. That's quite an alarming number. And of course, we are going to be looking at juvenile delinquency in its entirety. And joining me today are the beautiful ladies, Apollo Sarah to my extreme right, Agi Uwase, and Shivan Auma. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Some energy. Give me some
Good
energy.
Morning.
Well, before I actually do get your take on this topic that we're actually going to discuss today, allow me to define juvenile delinquency, which is the habitual committing of criminal acts or offenses by a young person, especially one below the age at which ordinary criminal prosecution is possible. In Uganda, that is 12 years of age. Well, now Uganda performs internationally well in terms of the approach to children in conflict with the law, and it has actually ratified the main international treaties enshrining their key principles in the Uganda Children's Act, that is CAP 59, I beg your pardon. And in Uganda, we see that children in conflict with the law are principally the responsibility of the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. However, of course, the police and the judiciary also do play an important role. Now, detained children all over Uganda are placed in one of the 4 remand homes in Fort Portal, Naguru, Mbale, as well as Gulu. And in addition, the Kampiringisa National Rehabilitation Center detains sentenced children from the whole of Uganda. Of course, juvenile delinquency has become a threat to the urban centers and families, with major characteristics of theft, arson, drug trafficking, addition to committing crimes, which altogether, of course, have caused a threat to the general public. So, ladies, the very first question I want to understand from you is, what's your take on juvenile delinquency in Uganda at the moment? Children being in conflict with the law, how do we get there as a society?
Poor family planning.
Just putting it out there.
I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Because it starts with the parents. A lot of children who end up being juvenile delinquents come from backgrounds that are poor economic backgrounds, come from families where there is abuse. It has been either inflicted on them or inflicted on their parents, like they see their parents, fighting a lot. They also come from backgrounds where they are around people who abuse drugs. I mean, there are a number of reasons that will push a child to commit crime. And most of the crimes, like you said in your report, your statistics report, many of them are arrested for things like, robbery, theft, trafficking of drugs, things like that, because they're all trying to find a way to survive. Yeah. So it all comes down to poor family, poor parenting, or, just the fact that the parents just failed to, properly plan the number of children that they have. And now you have so many and you don't have the enough time to, pay attention to all of them.
Mine would be poor parenting or absent parents. I mean, let's take a look at the stats. Most of the children who end up, being a menace in society most times have absent fathers, by the way, or absent mothers. So I would say when it comes to society, even while we talk about family planning, it is actually also poor parenting, lack of being present in your child's life. Like as your child is developing, are you present, as they are being exposed to all these vices, are you present? Are you able to talk to them, or you're leaving it to society to be the ones to raise your child? So for me, my biggest one is absenteeism of parents, fathers not taking up their role as being a father, and mothers not sitting down to also talk to both their boys and their and girls. So it is absent parents, poor parenting.
Well, for me, what I'm about to say is actually in relation to what Sarah and Shivan said, and I'll just put it that like disintegrated or broken families, and this is where you find children are not growing up in a solid family setting. Let's say, you know, your parents separated, so the mother is on the other end, the father is on the other end, and maybe you find they actually are not co-parenting in a very, you know, harmonious way. And also the other thing I would think, just to add on what Shivan said, absent parents. Now, let's take an example when a man is absent in the child's life, and say the woman is struggling. They'll probably be waking up every day, going out there to hustle, and they come back late at home, and they're not present even, you know, trying to parent and bring up these children, you know, in a good way. And what happens is they will definitely be on the neighbor's side, and, you know, with neighbors' children, and they'll always pick up those funny traits. We can talk about smoking, drug abuse, all those things, because the parent is not present there. But also when it comes to Uganda, I'll talk about unplanned urbanization. This is where you find in most places out there, say in Fort Portal, in Kasese, anywhere, people think that, I mean, there's unemployment, there are no opportunities for them to thrive in life, so they decide, let me go to the city. Some actually do escape from home. They never tell their parents when they're going. They come to the city, they probably have no relative to stay with who can help them, you know, in trying to put them in line. And so they come on the streets of Kampala. What happens? They will encounter multiple children from different backgrounds, and, you know, pick up all these traits. Definitely they have no one to really, you know, to bring them that support and that guidance that they need as children.
I understand where Aggie is coming from, but also let's not neglect the fact and throw it all to parents. Can we also think of peer pressure? You want to look cool, you want to fit in. Also too much television time, because most of these things are actually picked up on TV. You see someone smoking, you know, this, and they're looking cool, and you see another one is having a cocktail and all these things, and they're feeling a certain type of way. And these are the kind of things that our children are being exposed to.
Wrong role models.
Exactly. So they are going to do it either because they have seen it and it looks cool, or they want to fit in. Peer pressure. I mean, everyone is doing it. Why am I doing it? Everyone has ever, you know, smoked a pipe or two. Why shouldn't I do it? It's a cool thing
but
to
at
do.
the end of the day, when the parents are in the picture or the guardians are in the picture, then they will definitely limit the children on what. Yes, exactly.
But there is also so much
there.
a parent can do. You will do your. Let me tell you something. I've not been a parent, but I've been parented before. There is so much a parent can do. A parent will tell you, no, you're not supposed to do this. This is the way you're supposed. But at the end of the day, the decision is yours as a child, because they will not police you for your entire life. No, they will not.
I like that she said at the end of the day, the decision is yours as a child. But
As a child.
The criminal responsibility in Uganda is at 12 years. And normally we know that juveniles are handled in a way, you know, to help correct them, to help guide them, and all those things. But do you think they should actually handle them on the basis of their youth or their crimes?
This is the thing. Why children go on to commit crimes like that is because they have not been taught that there are consequences to their actions, and it dials down back to the parents. When I talk about family planning, we have campaigns all over the country that talk about family planning. Have a number of children that you are going to be able to take care of and be able to provide with. A child is not going to go on and commit a crime if they're already receiving what it is that they are getting. A number of girls, when they go into university, okay, now we're vying out of this, but I'm just going to give this as a quick example. A girl is going to be tempted to get a sugar daddy because she's not receiving an allowance from her parents. You understand? She has been dumped at school, and that is it. Now she has to fend for herself. You get me? Same thing about children. When they're not receiving attention, when they're not receiving proper guidance, when their parents are not having real conversations with them, when they're about to approach their teenage years and telling them there are consequences to your actions. If you steal, you're going to get punished. If you kill someone, you're going to get punished. If you get yourself involved in extramarital activities at a young age, there are consequences to that. Parents don't have those conversations. How many of you here had conversations about sex with your parents? How many of you here had conversations about the consequences about stealing? Our parents were oblivious to those things. You are a child, you know nothing about doing those things. You understand? There are parents who would come to school and defend their children and say that my child doesn't steal, but your child is stealing. Do you understand? There are consequences to it. And I'm not saying that they should be tried harshly, but they need to understand. Because a lot of people who later go on to become, you know, criminals who have done the most heinous of crimes have a pattern. It started young and it kept on going because nobody checked them. It's an unfortunate thing. Here in Uganda, you're criminally responsible at the age of 12. In the United States, it's as low as 6 years old. In South Carolina and other 35 states, it's at 7 years old. In the Philippines, it's at 15 years old. So children need to understand their consequences to your actions. I'm not saying go and put them in a prison with people who are, you know, over 18 years old, but at least our country has rehabilitation centers and remand homes where these children are taken and are reformed and are counseled. And sometimes, many times, it is an ends to a means. You understand? When a child gets themselves, and here the law only tries a juvenile as an adult when they engage themselves in a violent act, such as capital offenses like aggravated robbery, aggravated assault, or even murder. Then that is when you have just ruined your whole life. But children don't know that. And they think that because I'm a child, many of them are going to go and commit crimes and say, because I'm a child, they're going to be lenient on me. So sometimes, they need to understand their consequences to their actions. That's just how life is.
Aggie, do you think they should be tried based on their age or actually on the gravity of their crimes?
Just to add on a little bit on what Sarah said, now I don't know if I'm adding good, but there's a time when we hosted a gentleman here in regard to street children, and what he talked about was some of these street children in Kampala actually, they are receptive to being taken, you know, to those remand homes and all those rehabilitation centers. But how they take them off the street in a very weird manner, talking about police and all law enforcement officers. So children feel like they are not safe with them. I cannot trust this person. Even when I'm in wrong, they are trying to take me in a very rowdy way. So they also get defensive and they end up in the long run committing more crimes. And he talked about, we as a people need to make these street children actually be comfortable if we are going to rehabilitate them. Let's say we are taking them to a rehabilitation center or a remand home. Sit them down and make them understand the magnitude of, you know, the crimes that they are making. Do not try to pin it on them, because some of them are doing these things out of, you know, how life is at the moment. Talking about street children is because they have nowhere to stay. They have no food to eat. So they are doing these things. Some actually do understand the consequences of their actions, but they have no way out of it. So they do it because I have to survive at the end of the day. Yeah. So I think for me, they shouldn't be treated harshly. They should be made to understand, because they are children at the end of the day. If you do this, this can happen. If you do that, that can happen. So, but being tried in a harsh way, it's not the way out of it. Because we have actually, besides that, we have seen multiple children who have escaped from remand homes. You've probably heard of that report.
Even while I may say that they shouldn't be tried in a harsh way, age shouldn't be a reason as to why you're not owning up or you're not facing consequences because of the actions that you committed. I mean, age should not be an issue. I mean, if you're 12 and you are caught, say, what? Smoking what? Shisha or weed? By the time you got that, you know exactly what you're doing. I'm thinking you know what you're doing.
Oh, no.
So even when we're saying, you know, we talk to them and all these things, I mean, age shouldn't be a restriction. Of course, she's young, she didn't know what she's doing, and very many times, us as adults and parents and guardians were very quick to protect our little ones and hide under the umbrella of, okay, she's young, or he didn't know what he was doing. No, they actually know what they're doing, by the way. They're just being mischievous at that point in time. But I think all this can be avoided if parents could just actually sit down and talk to the children about these things. And also, the major cause of this is that parents alienate themselves from children. How? You do not tell your child that the experiences that you went through. You know, very many times, if moms and dads sat down and said, guess what? I used to be a drunkard. This is what happened. I lost my job. I almost lost you as my child. I almost lost my family. Like, let your children be able to know that, oh, Daddy once did this, but now he's better, and this is actually what happened. But very many times we come out and say, how dare you be a thief? Kumbe, you're also a thief in school. How dare you do drugs? Kumbe, you are the biggest drug addict in Kampala. So how about, instead of alienating ourselves from our children, make them understand that, hey, guess what? Yes, these things actually happen, but they are not good things. I've been there, I've done that. I do not expect you as my child to do that. You get? Because it makes more sense to them. I mean, if you're able to bring it to their level and they say, oh, okay, even as mommy, as beautiful as she looks and as responsible as she looks, she was once, addicted to drugs, and she was able to overcome it, and she has told me the bad things that she went through. Then I shouldn't be able to go down that road. But again, a child that wants to try out anything, nothing can stop that child. Nothing.
Well, depending on your submissions, of course, we can all agree that you would want them to be treated in a nicer way. It's basically what is actually happening.
But that's not how the world is.
No, the probability of actually these children becoming repeat offenders is high. I do think we're eradicating the real issue in the community, because we can all tell that these people are actually still a big threat to us in our communities. So if we still handle them with so much care, let's protect, let's prevent them from doing this and that.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
What we just have a messed up community at the end of it all.
This is what I'm saying. Even before we get there, oh my goodness. You see, even just adults themselves do not understand the repercussions of their actions. When I mentioned family planning in the beginning, we have sung this song for years. The population is just growing by the year. The economy is crashing more and more by the year, and people are still choosing to engage in reckless bedroom activity, if I may put it that way. Family planning in this country is free of charge in many healthcare centers. But people don't go there and say that, oh no, when you do it this way or do it that way, it is not sweet, blah, blah, blah. Now here you are, your child is a delinquent.
A delinquent, yeah.
You understand? Now here your child is engaging in dangerous activity, and you can't even account for it and don't want to take responsibility for it. So before we go even into punishing these children, how about we start by making the people who made these children take responsibility for their actions? Do you understand what I mean? And the third part, the very sad thing is that when we had National Day for Street Connected Children, it was reported that about 30,000, there are 30,000 street connected children, because that's what they call them, around all the cities in Uganda. 30,000, and the number keeps on growing. There was a campaign and a whole move to remove them around that time, but they're back on the streets again. Do you understand what I mean? So there's a reason why these children are being attracted back to the streets, because it's probably the safest place for them. Many of them are running away from abusive homes, abusive parents. Many of them are running away from poverty. Many of them are running away from forced child labor. Many of them are running away from situations that are not, you wouldn't want even your worst enemy to live in that kind of situation. They're here and end up committing crimes because they are surviving. It is, I'm taking this day as it comes. Hence it pushes them in that situation. So we will be very hypocritical if we say that, yeah, let them, they have to pay for their crimes. And yet there's an adult somewhere who put that child in that situation. Do you understand? So why should the child take all the blame? What about their parent? What about their parent who is even selling that child? We have had stories of parents who are pimping their children out. Children even younger than 10 years old, pimping them out.
Just for some extra cash.
Just for some extra cash. So when do we draw the line? Who is actually supposed to be taking responsibility? These children have a better chance, because if a child at the age of 12 is held responsible for their crimes, then it is a good thing that at least they try to be rehabilitated. But rehabilitation takes time, because this child has been programmed and has not developed like any child that has grown up in a safe and secure environment. This child is always on, their mind is in a place where I am here to survive. I don't trust anybody. If you can't trust the person who birthed you, who can you trust?
Yeah. I totally agree. Being autocratic as a parent will never help in any way to bring the child in line. I'll just give you a slight example of a neighbor of ours, their child
At some point, I think they committed they did not tell us exactly what she did, but this is what happened. She ran to our home, and then they're asking, she's like, I don't want to go back home because I know what they're going to do to me. My father is going to batter me. If you cannot let me in, I'm definitely going on the streets. You understand? But as a parent, on the other end, you don't want to keep someone's child without their knowledge. So when the child realized that my dad was actually going to tell the father that, hey, I'm the one with your child, is here with me, she ran off to the streets and she said, I would rather, you know, stand whatever consequences that I can stand on the street than come back home to be treated this way. So that's why I'm saying, parents, being autocratic is not a good way in any way. It will not bring the child in line. If anything, it will make them defensive. It will make them more
unruly
and rebellious. Yes, because I mean, if you are, fire doesn't put out fire. I do believe in the saying of spare the rod, spoil the child. But then again, how are you doing it? Yes.
But as a country, I do not think we have properly, what is it called? We have not properly invested in what we would like to term as remand or rehabilitation homes. There's a meme I came across social media, which I found it very sarcastic. And the meme had that you go out drinking and clubbing and smoking with rich people's kids. When they get disturbed, they are taken abroad to rehabilitation centers. For you remain here in Uganda. Let's look first of all at how much it takes to cater for our child in a remand home or in a rehabilitation center. Here in Uganda, it's not cheap. It's quite costly. Not very many parents can afford to take these juveniles to actually these centers because it's costly. Mental health is actually a very costly thing. And as a country in Uganda, I do not think we have invested enough to make it affordable for everyone. So we may sit here and say, oh, these children need to go to rehabilitation centers and all, but who is going to fund for them? Let's take a look at the way people live just in Butabika. In Butabika alone, the people that are taken there. The truth of the matter is that not very many of them are well off, you get. So even while remand and rehabilitation centers may be the best option, the question would be, are we able to afford it? Can you afford it as a parent? The cost of it alone is quite costly.
But also the prison system is not also as good. So
exactly.
It's not an option either. It's not the better option.
No,
either
I'm not bringing it as an option that
the
children should not, because we cannot afford remand homes, they should be taken to prison. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's expensive already to take a child and to be taken care of even in a remand home. And those that are actually state-of-the-art and very nice, they cost quite a lot of money.
You mean rehabilitation centers? Because remand homes are prisons for juveniles. Yes. Those are government-aided places. Government-aided. So I think you're meaning rehabilitation centers. And true, yes, mental health care is quite expensive, and so is the health care system generally in Uganda. But you see, we have to cut our losses somewhere. If we have failed as parents, then why are we now saying, oh my goodness, it is expensive, yet you're the one who caused the damage and trauma to your child? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And many of these children, some of them are orphaned, don't have any fallback. So what do we do for them?
Absolutely.
They still need some type of help, and there are many NGOs that are helping out with this situation. Many NGOs that are coming out and helping, you know, the street-connected children, that are helping juvenile, you know, delinquents. Even some have, you know, lawyers who represent them so that they can get minimal, you know, sentences and get the rehabilitation and help that they need.
But even besides that, one thing that I would want, you know, because there are very many situations or scenarios where children who have ran back again to the streets, you know, from rehabilitation and remand homes, they talk about being mistreated in these places. Because if you want to make a child feel safe and understand, you know, the crimes that they are committing, you have to treat them well. These wardens, I don't know, the people in charge of taking care of children need to be a little bit more lenient.
Trained
because
as well
at the end of the day, you're pushing
children.
them back to the street.
Yeah.
But there's an element that
what Agi just shared about one of the remand homes in Uganda, because we mentioned there were only 4 remand homes in Uganda. One of the reports was indicating that in a space that is meant for about 50 people, there were about 200 children. So you can even tell, like, even when we're trying to help, we're actually not really like trying to help. But allow me look at the measures that we can use to actually combat the juvenile delinquency in our society. Number 1 is education. Model programs have assisted families and children by providing them with informations. Now, some programs inform parents on how to raise healthy children. Some teach children about the effects of drugs, gangs, sex and weapons, and others aim to express to the youth the worth they are and all the others that they have. So all of these programs would definitely provide the youths with the awareness that their actions have consequences, just as Sarah did share with us. And the other bit is recreation as well. One of the immediate benefits of recreation activities is that they feel unsupervised after school hours. The Department of Education has reported that youths are more likely to commit crimes between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m., with crime rates peaking at 3 p.m. So recreational programs allow youths to connect with other adults and children in the community. Such positive friendships may assist children in later years. Now, youth programs are also designed to fit the personalities and skills of different children, and they may include things like sports, dancing, music, rock climbing, drama, karate, just basically all activities that can that children can actually engage in to constructively spend their time, rather than turning to things like crime. Like crime, yes. Then the other bit is community involvement. Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, church youth groups, and volunteer groups all involve youth within our community. So if you're out there and you have a delinquent in your site, please, at least, you can take them to some of these volunteer groups where they can actively engage and do something productive in their communities, and of course keep a safe social environment. The other bit is parent-child interaction training program. You did all mention at the end of the day, parents have to be present for their children. And lastly, the prevention programs within the juvenile justice system, I beg your pardon. So a youth entering the juvenile justice system has the opportunity to receive intervention assistance from the state. In the care of the state, a youth may receive drug rehabilitation assistance, counseling, and educational opportunities. So ladies, your final parting shots before we wrap up.
Family planning. I am very serious about it. Family planning is very important, because if you're not intentional about the number of children that you have, you're not going to be able to take care of them. So have a number of children that you can be able to take care of. I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic, if anything, has taught us that you have to, live within your means. So don't go on having children because you're trying to push a status, symbol or whatever that is. Don't do that. Take care of your children. You are the sole custodian of your child. So take care of them. If you're not there, then you see what happens.
Mm-hmm. For me, mine is simple and clear. Charity begins at home at the end of the day. All the good and bad behaviors are picked up from home. So as parents, you need to be present in your children's life. And yes, even as guardians, try as much, even if you're busy all through the day. When you get back home, have that little time to talk to your child about, their life.
In 10 seconds, Shivan.
Mine would be seek God, because as a parent, there is so much you can do. There are parents who have given their children everything. Actually, that's an element I wanted to mention. There are parents who have given their children everything, but their children still choose to create kavuyo in society. So at the end of the day,
and be bad people.
Witchcraft is a real thing, so you need to pray.
Well, there you had it from the ladies. My name is Priva Elibaz. You've been watching our views right here on Sunrise at Sea. We'll be back in a bit.
Thank you for waking up to Sunrise at Sea right here on CTV. It's always a pleasure spending our mornings with you every day. If you haven't yet followed us on social media, kindly please do, and that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and YouTube as well, and that is at CTV Uganda. We had some very insightful conversations today. It was a very huge pleasure having a conversation with Mr. Morris Mugisha, and please, like he said, buy Uganda, build Uganda. So support the Uganda film industry. Support your children as well, It always starts, Agi said it, charity starts at home. So support your children and let them know that they can achieve anything that they set their minds to, except crime. Crime is not allowed. Well, until tomorrow, same time, same place, and that is from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Keep watching CTV. Be blessed. Don't forget to be kind. Pray as well, and follow SOPs. All right, bye-bye.